Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Monday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. I hope each and every one of you are doing great through these crazy, chaotic times. If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that would be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. So today, I'm going back to addiction. You know, I feel like sometimes I neglect the topic, but not today. And I'm going way back to what started it all, the catalyst of my addiction, and that is ecstasy. Prior to about 17 years old, I was anti-chemical drugs. You know, I grew up in Maniac, Toronto system, and back in those days, it wasn't cool to do dope. So really, ecstasy was kind of the first drug that you got away with being able to do if you were hanging around with guys who didn't really accept junkies as boys. So that's what I did because I was a junkie in the making. I had a heavy addictive personality and honestly, some of the most fun times in my entire life. So back then an ecstasy pill would cost you like $35 and it was basically pure MDMA with some MDA and some crystal methamphetamine. There wasn't a bunch of other crazy stuff. And at that time, if you took one pill, it would blast you through the whole night. I remember the first time I went out to a big rave in Toronto. It was a Life Force, and I think it was at the International Center. It was these massive rooms, music just thumping, and I remember being in there on ecstasy and just it coursing through my veins. And at that time, ecstasy was kind of considered the love drug, right? Everybody was cool, everybody was friendly, and it was just a good scene, a good vibe, except for me, it quickly became an addiction. I quickly started popping ecstasy pills like Tic Tacs. And at one point, ironically, I even carried them in a Tic Tac container just to look like an idiot, basically. Because at that time, I was a total idiot. You know, I used to walk around like, yeah, just cheesed all the time, mad at the world, just wanted to break the law and just kind of cause drama, cause trouble. And, you know, being where I'm at now, it's crazy to think I used to be so different. But at that time, the ecstasy pills had me going crazy. I remember one time I went to this rave, it was called Cyrus 6 Year, and it was literally the best night of my life. It was 3 huge rooms where the stage literally is like this big. Everybody's jamming, everybody's messed up. It was an amazing night. Cool people everywhere, no violence. And it was just an amazing time of my life because addiction hadn't really taken a hold of me yet. But over years, ecstasy really took its toll on my body. And I remember going through what I can only describe as like flashbacks. I'd literally be sober, just burning piff, smoking cigarettes, maybe drinking some beer. And I remember I'd be like sitting out on a porch or something, and all of a sudden, whoa, I'd feel like I'm falling. I'd like have 10 seconds of just being blasted out of nowhere, even though I wasn't doing drugs. And this continued and got worse and worse and worse until it honestly really scared me. One time, I had to turn myself in. I was on the run from a open custody AWOL. They had raided somebody's house that I knew, and the cops had told that person if I turned myself in, they'd drop all those charges. So that's what I did. And when I basically went to my parents' house, at the time I wasn't welcome there, but my brother was there. My parents were gone on vacation somewhere, and I called the feds to turn myself in. I remember when they pulled up, I literally popped 2 Green Love ecstasy pills. And they took me down to East Mall Court where next day I'd have a hearing. And I was bouncing off the walls. My eyeballs are boom out of my head. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm just rowdy, just talking shit, just causing mayhem, banging bars, making noise. And at the end of the day, the next day, I went in and in front of the judge. Keep in mind, I was on the run for 23 days from open custody, which is basically like a halfway house for young offenders. So I was on the run for 23 days. The judge sentenced me to 23 days to be served in open custody. Seriously. Like, they didn't learn. And I remember I was in Dowling, what's it called? It's basically like a young offender house, right? I was there, and I remember me and this dude had to go out grocery shopping, and the staff that took us grocery shopping had all these rave flyers in the back of her car. And I remember looking at this dude and saying, yo, check this out. And there was this Congo Natty party at the Mississauga Ice Center, and it was just something we were gonna do. We ended up boogieing that night from the open custody house and went to this rave. And I remember not even having a way to get in, just going to, what's it called? Nathan Phillips Square, and getting on the bus to go to this rave. No money, no ticket. Don't know if any of my friends are going to be there, but at the time I'm raving hard, so I know they're going to be there. And sure enough, there's this big window at the front of this place, and I'm out in line, I'm flagging down my people. They see me, they send out money, I go into the party. I remember coming out in the morning and seeing this girl, this Portuguese staff, and her saying to me, you don't say nothing, I don't say nothing. And that was it. We kept it moving, and I was on the run for 90 days, tearing up York Region. It was chaotic. I was literally breaking enter, running from the feds, just running, causing trouble. And literally at the time, I'm like 17, 18 years old, and I'm hanging out at my high school. And one day I'm standing out in front of the high school, and I'm just chilling, and this staff from Dowling Open Custody pulls up. Is that you, Mr. Clark? Get in the car, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I boogied, and I was literally on the run for 3 months, got in a huge helicopter chase. I've already told the story. Go back, check it out. It's on the channel. And it was just crazy. I continued to do ecstasy right up till about 2003. At that time, I was probably doing literally 15 to 20 ecstasy pills every day. Every day. My mind was beginning to get affected. My emotions were all out of whack. It affected me in so many ways negatively, and I kind of just went crazy. I think honestly it spurred this criminal run that I was on, where I literally didn't care about anything. I didn't care about who I hurt. Obviously, I wasn't hurting people physically, but I didn't care what I took from you. I didn't care how hard you worked for what I took from you, and it really didn't matter to me. As long as it wasn't my homies, it was fair game. I had no respect for anybody. I was such a heat bag, I'd literally be walking down the street, cars would pull up, start taking pictures of me, because I did so many B&Es in the same neighborhood. I was out of control, and ecstasy fueled that. At this time, it wasn't MDMA. It was hard ecstasy pills, triple stacks. The first ones I ever did were white Mitsubishis. A friend of mine ended up getting arrested with 200,000 of them at Pearson Airport, went on the ghost trip around the US, doing 8 years before they extradited him back, and he got released. So whether you're making money off dope or whether you're partying and doing dope, it's all bad. It's all bad. Sure, if you can, go to Ibiza, or if you can go to a rave once every couple of years, do a little bit of MDMA or whatever, and handle that, that's cool. But too much of anything is bad for you. Drinking too much water can kill you. I drank so much water one time to pass a urinalysis test. I drank 3 liters of water, 2 liters of cranberry juice, projectile vomited for like a half an hour. The blood vessels all blew up in my face. I had purple polka dots all over my face, and I literally felt like I was gonna die for like a few days. It was crazy how sick I felt. But anything in excess can be bad for you, especially drugs. Now, I only ever overdosed kind of once, and it was from ecstasy. Not the heroin or the coke, smashing it intravenously, from ecstasy. I remember I got these red rockets. They were crazy potent. And I was at my friend's house, and I had eaten 2, and I was laying there on the couch, and all of a sudden I felt pins and needles climbing up my body. And all of a sudden he's talking to me. I can't respond. I can't talk. I fall off the couch, and I'm kind of doing a funky chicken. I'm throwing up everywhere. And luckily I came through it without having to go to a hospital or without really retaining any long-term damage. But I know that if I would have kept on an ecstasy path, my brain would have been fried. It had a negative impact 100% on me emotionally and physically. And it took a couple years before I stopped feeling those so-called flashbacks, or whatever you want to call them. A lot of people look at rave drugs like they're not serious. And sure, they're not really habit forming for the most part, unless it's like crystal, you know. Ketamine's not super habit forming unless you're a maniac. And ecstasy's not super habit forming unless you're a maniac. But they're still dangerous, and people die from them. Who knows what's in the ecstasy pills that you're getting, or how pure the MDMA that you're getting is. And do you really want to take that chance now with fentanyl and everything all over the place? Listen, I'm not knocking you. If you want to go out, party, do some ecstasy, go ahead, have a good time. Just don't let it get out of control. And I'm not promoting ecstasy use. I'm not saying that. But I can't control you and what you do. So if you're going to be using responsibly, who am I to tell you? But it definitely had a negative impact on my life. It definitely put me into a mindset of recklessness, craziness, and I assume that's probably from the crystal meth that's inside of it. And I pretty much was all out maniacal from like 17 to 24 on the ecstasy, maybe 22. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it, really, just to get effed up and have a good time, to use anything in excess, because your body is the most important thing you got. You got to keep it as healthy as possible and prolong your existence as long as you can. Nobody wants to die young. Nobody wants their parents to have to bury them young. And it happens all the time, no matter what drug it is. Now, I think the best answer is to legalize everything. Just legalize everything across the board. Produce it safely. And maybe then people will stop going to prison. You get rid of the stigma. And people won't feel it necessary to use all the time, because there'll be opportunity. You can't treat addicts and people that use drugs like they're less than. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they're trying to bury something. I don't know what that is. For each individual, it'll be different. But anytime somebody is overusing drugs, there's a reason why. It's not just because they want to ruin their life. You know, obviously I share my stories with you guys so you guys don't have to go through these things yourselves. If I could snap my fingers, nobody's addicted to drugs. Nobody goes to prison. Nobody overdoses. Nobody experiences abuse or trauma. Then that's what I do. But that's not a reality, especially in 2021. And I just think it's time that we stop the stigma across the board and try to control this. Drug addicts are not criminals. They're just not. If they're not selling dope, how are they a criminal? And when you stigmatize people like that, you put people in positions. I got a lot of convictions that I probably shouldn't have had for drug possession, not for trafficking, for simple possession of some weed, some hash. BS should be thrown off my record. But that was the system then. It's gotten a little bit better now, but I think it can get even better. If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button so you get all these videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that would be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. So, obviously, there is no cure for drug addiction. There is no perfect answer. But the wrong thing to do is to put people in jail for it and to stigmatize people as criminals because they have drug problems. I'm not trying to get myself out of any criminal convictions because I was a criminal. But there's a lot of people with criminal records who weren't. They just had problems. And if you dig deeply into every single addict, I guarantee you'll find the reason why. Stop being blind to it. Love each and every one of you. The new Matt Clark.